Well, howdy! That's not the right accent. Anyway, this is Dr. Jimmy, and here we are again. Although you might hear a bit of that accent later this, yeah. I don't know. Rumours, I don't know. Any truth? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Something about cowboys, maybe, I don't know. But getting back to it, here we are to the lovely... it's still Friday the 13th, I still got Bill and Ted on, and it is part 14! Part 14 of the history of Halloween Horror Nights 21! Yeah! So here we are, and we were talking about 7. I never got through the Scare Zone 7, my previous video, going into all sorts of diversions on religion. But then again, it's all about sin, isn't it? Yes. So I mentioned one of the sins, how she looked when she transformed from the beautiful masked figurine to the hideous, way too much cosmetic surgery form that she took place. So then lust, of course, lust is there. She's been kind of seductive, kind of like doing hoochie coochie, and she's, you know, wants to seduce her, call you up to you know, lust. She wants to make you horny, basically. And when the mask disappears, a lot more skin revealed now, bare arms and all of that, and her face, except, oh my God, what is it? One of the penalties of lust, of course. Sometimes you can catch a disease. Ooh, you know, sometimes it burns when you try to pee. And this is like the worst freaking case of herpes ever. It's covering her entire body, all her flesh, all the way up her arms, all the way up hers. It's like her skin's been burnt off. It's like her whole been consumed by burning with lust. Her hair's gone. She's bald. It's like her skin's been burned off. She looks horrific. Ooh, disgusting, raw and nasty. And her minions also with those same sort of faces and bald, all burnt off skin, lips gone, everything. This horrible, but they're still lusty, and they're dressed in the red satin pajamas and bathrobes with, you know, the red satin with like black lapels, just like something Hugh Hefner might have worn. Perfect for this particular sin. So you go on then to Sloth. I'm still using that pronunciation. Can't stop me, you. So you go to Sloth, and then instead of a throne, the sin of Sloth had like a chaise lounge she could lie back on. Sometimes she's lying on the damn stage. She's just, you know, just totally relaxed, chill. She's the epitome of chill, the incarnation of chilling. Doesn't care about a damn thing. Whatever it is, there's tomorrow, there's next week, there's next year, there's infinity. You can take care of it. Then I don't give a shit. I'm Sloth. I'm just going to take a nap. And so she's been chilling out, and when she takes off her mask, you see the ultimate of someone who's totally checked out. A zombie, undead, totally slow-moving, not wanting, not into, life is gone already. She's the living dead, essentially. And her minions are zombies, staggering about, just like from many zombie scare zones before and afterwards, but in this one they had a sort of supernatural resonance with the sin of Sloth. Maybe it's a word of warning to keep doing zombies year after year. That's a sign of laziness, isn't it? Yeah. Editorializing that. So we go to Envy. Now here maybe they took a cue from what demon is associated with Envy, Leviathan, the great serpent, because it was a big serpent. It was all big green scaly serpent. So she's all in green, and then she's unmasked. Then we see her reptilian face with scales and pointy reptile teeth, like she's a snake woman. And her minions, and they're sort of wearing kind of like, I don't know, they're disco guys or something, are going to go to the nightclubs clubbing. They're sort of wearing sort of sleeveless black, green and black vinyl outfits, but they have the similar scaly faces, snaky faces. Some of them have like bite marks in them because some sort of snake's been biting them all over, and it's festering and like festering because it's infecting them with the poison of envy. So that venom, that might be the word. So we get to Greed, and she's all in gold and white, and has lots of little, little coins up around her mask and all of that. And chains, you know, gold chains, like pimping, except these are big heavy chains like Joseph Marley or Jacob Marley or Ebenezer Scrooge was going to be tombed, and all the chains of greed, except they're made of gold, and it's heavy, and it's all over the stage, and chests and pearls and diamonds and rules and stuff. So she's got this go, and when she's unmasked, her face looks more or less more normal than some of the other sins, but if you look closely, you realise she's freaking dead. Her face has like been choked, maybe strangled by it, and so she's like, you can see the veins in the pale face. She's like not a living person. And her minions, however, are more obvious. They're wearing business suits, like they work on Wall Street, and they've got stacks, big stacks and wads of $1,000 bills and shit, and it's crammed into her mouth all the way in, and it can't breathe. Their faces are turning black, their eyes are bulging out, veins sticking out, money sticking out of all the money crammed down their throat, with all this, and so they're trying to eat their wealth because they can't spend it, they can't do anything but try to keep it to themselves. They're so greedy bastards. So that was greed. All right, then you get to gluttony, and now they did cast We Should Be Nice, say a full-figured lady, big beautiful woman in her purple. Also cast an African-American woman for this sin, and when she returned last year in the Icon Scare Zone, it may have been the same lady, or it may have been a different one, but they also kept the ethnicity. I don't know why Gluttony is a black girl, but nevertheless it worked, because she's a diva, and she was fierce, and she's all there in her purple and everything, and she's doesn't care that she's a little bit larger than the other girls. She knows she's beautiful anyway, but she's can't be bothered because she's eaten. Oh yeah, and she doesn't going to have to choke or starve herself. She's eaten and she's happy, and so she's there. And then when the mask comes off, you see that she maybe you know ate too much, because you see all this crusty kind of like vomit around her mouth and throat. So ew, that's gross. And her minions also had all this puke all over themselves and their mouths, and they're big, and for this case we'll use a less polite term, fat, flappy, you know, slobs, walking around in their kind of their suits not really fitting well, their neckties are kind of just kind of sweaty boys going about. And one of them, though, I swear to God, with he was a big fat guy, but he had a little mustache, a little sleazy mustache, and kind of dark curly hair. And I swear to God, he looked for all the world like that notorious Ron Jeremy. That straight porn, I don't normally watch that, but now I know who he looks like. And I saw the dude, you know, he's kind of renowned for a major talent. And also, I think he's got a nickname, the Hedgehog, because he's a hairy bastard. And so he's there, just walking around, and I said, oh my God, it's Ron Jeremy. And he looks at me and goes, oh, I'm much bigger, much bigger. It was just hysterical. I love those kind of moments, you know, it kind of makes it all work. So that was a big thrill for that. So, last one, Wrath. And Wrath's got a throne like on Game of Thrones with all knives and blades sticking out all over. And she's got this black leather-like outfit and with her white mask. And when that mask goes off, it's a skimpier black outfit showing more skin. And you can see there's just cuts on her. There's like cuts on her arms and things and on her face, and rather severe, because and she's got a sword of her own, with the sword waving it about. And then her minions, all these big muscular guys, you know, like, and they're dressed quite a bit like you'd see at the Folsom Street Fair in San Francisco, if you know what that's about, you know, in the whole gay BDSM lifestyle, the leather guys. So they're wearing leather, you know, tight leather jeans and those harnesses, and no shirts, so they can show off all their muscles. And they've got, you know, also the sort of like they've been cut around, little bits of cuts, blood on them, but at the same time they've got big ass chainsaws, and so they're running around with the chainsaws chasing people in that part of the zone. So basically your minions, the sinners, are doing the scaring while the sins are up on stage putting on a bit of a show, and are great, distracting, because whether the hideous aspect or the pretty one with the masks, you know, they've just got a lot of people wanted to get photos with them because it's like a photo op scare zone. It sort of was the first great photo op scare zone. They have other in the same location, Fear Factor. Even last year's Icon scare zone had a similar, and it's been very popular, especially the Hollywood Boulevard area. So I wouldn't be surprised if this year they did something up similar, because that seems to work so well in that area. People want to stop and get pictures of something that's visually interesting and of course, it always distracts, because while you're looking at whatever's going on the stage and getting your shots, there's something scary sneaking up on you. And it always works quite fun. And I did get 7 deadly selfies. I've got them somewhere on iPhone. I could try to dig them out on my phone, but I don't think I want to do that this time. It's basically I went there, and I had long hair in those days. If you look at my Facebook or my Tumblr, you might find them if you look hard enough. But basically, I went there with my iPhone and took my selfie with the sin behind me. And of course, these girls were awesome because they stayed in character. So, you know, Wrath is pouting in the background, all pissed off, and Gluttony is like, don't bother me, I'm eating, and Greed is like, you know, money, 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 and Envy is just giving those evil, poisonous glances. It's all quite hysterical going on behind me as I get the pictures, but the best ones were Sloth, because she doesn't even notice what I'm doing. The other ones, you know, they sort of stand a little bit further back, but they're posing in their various ways, posing because they know I'm getting a picture with them behind me. Right, so I get the picture of Sloth, and she's just lying on her bed. She's practically falling off on the floor, and she's like, I don't give a shit. She's just totally, you know, out there. But the best of all was Vanity, because she was like right up in the picture. Right, I'm getting my thing, and she's like pushing past me to get, you know, take up as much space, because it's not a selfie for me, it's her. I just happen to be the guest star in her picture, not the other way around. See, that's Vanity for you, because that's who she is. So it's an awesome, awesome scan. You probably can tell I like this. I spent a lot of time. I spent a whole damn video. I started in 12, and I spent all of 13 on it, and now here I am, more than halfway through 14 on this one scare zone. It really was a wonderful scare zone. Some people hated it, but most people, I think, rather enjoyed it. When I go through reviews, 7 is always a highlight of Halloween Horror Nights 21. And the fact that they brought the 7 sins back last year, not all at once, but at different times throughout the event, you know, one or the other sins would show up in the Icon scare zone on Hollywood Boulevard last year. Especially Gluttony, who was just a total diva, even better than she was. They gave them all chainsaws too at different times, but they were just amazing. And the fact, you know, they brought them back because they're fan favorites. You know, and they knew that people would remember the sins and say, "Oh, we love the sins. We're glad they're back," because everybody likes a good sin, don't you? No. I know you're all righteous, but every once in a while, sin is fun. Right, so after that, let's see. What's next? Well, the next scare zone then won't take anywhere near as long to get through the next 2 scare zones. They're rather minimalist. The next one was called Canyon of Dark Cells. It was the last one ever in this particular location, and not because it may be forever. They did some stuff in that location the following year, but it wasn't an official scare zone. In fact, they had no official scare zones the following year at all. Think about it. We're talking about 2011 now. 2012, remember what happened that year. But the area I'm talking about is when you're going out Central Park, and there's that big sort of plaza in front of. You go one way. That's where they had Cirque du Freak. Remember in 2009. If you go to your right, you go into Kids Zone. You go to your left. So once you leave that area, off to your left. And there's a little bit of space that nowadays is sort of just the part of the beginning of Springfield. You see the Bumblebee truck and the Lard Lad over there, and you're passing Animal Actors as you go into Springfield. Well, at that time, in 2011, there was no Springfield. It was just the Simpsons ride itself. And did they put in the Alien Dumbo thing by then? Or was that a couple years later? I don't remember. But they put that in before they put in the whole Springfield, USA. I call it Alien Dumbo because it... you know what I mean. It's the Kang and Kodos ride. But that little tiny strip just before you get to the animal act, I guess afterwards, it's before you get to where the restrooms are. So it's just in that little teeny space, little tiny strip, which at that time had a bunch of flagpoles in 2011, a bunch of flagpoles of different nations, and then you'd be up to this place where they had a big food court like quick service. It was called the International Food Festival, and I guess it was themed up to fit in with World Expo Plaza that you go to when you get to Men in Black, and you know, and at that time Simpsons ride, but way back when it was Back to the Future, right? So you go that little tiny strip, just a little bit of it was turned into a scare zone, an official scare zone. They haven't done an official scare zone there since. And that little space, they put up these big black walls on either side, and it was all straight up dark, and to create, so you couldn't see the flagpoles or the animal actors. All you saw was this narrow passageway. It was the canyon of Dark Souls, and maybe, I talked a lot of religion before, maybe it's inspired by that biblical passage from the 23rd Psalm. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Except, this is more like Exorcist the beginning. God's not here today. Oh no, you're in there by yourself. The dark canyon of Dark Souls. The valley of the shadow of death, indeed. And you go through that narrow little area, and these walls are on either side of you, and it's all black and dark in there, and there's figures on either side, gigantic figures of death, huge black robed with great skeletal faces and glowing eyes, some of them, and some of them are just figures, gigantic, you know, huge statuary, but some of them have characters inside somehow working like carnival heads and on stilts, and they'll come down after you. In some cases they'll just grab you if they happen to know you personally. That happened to both me and Chris. One time we went through there, got grabbed a couple of times. It was fun. Some people, of course, they wouldn't do that to just anyone because, you know, don't want anyone complaining in the verse. So, oh, a Grim Reaper grabbed my titties and I'm going to sue you. That would be very bad. But some of us, if they, you know, they know you, then they know that, oh, that's Dr. Jimmy. He doesn't mind if I grab his titties. Well, that's not really what I mean, but you know what? Never mind. Okay, you wouldn't mind being grabbed. So that's lots of fun. So this horrific, and of course, on both ends, outside the actual canyon area, which, like I said, was like a big, you know, dark path between two great walls. They couldn't dig a hole and make a canyon that way. They sort of just had to build this. On either side, they have more of these, both normal-sized and tall, still sort of like the Iniquitous that came up the 2 years later. No, the following year. Iniquitous of the following year. Something like that, but a little bit more less interesting visually. They were just hooded robes, skeletal faces. Didn't have the variety of Iniquiti that they did, but they were related somehow. These Reaper-like creatures with staffs with skulls on them and stuff like that, making eyes that sometimes glowed. And of course there were some other bits of design, scenery, both just outside and just inside, with big scaffolds full of skulls and bits and pieces, obviously from victims. So that was it. Very minimalist, but nowhere near as minimalist as the next scare zone. The what would that be? The fifth one? Yeah. That was the most minimalist scare zone of all freaking time. Absolutely. Now, the rat run they did in 2005, which was actually just, you know, an afterthought, was rather minimalist. Just some chain link and Jack yelling at you. This is even less, in a way. And this was an actual official scare zone. The Nightmaze. It was the very last one ever in Shrek Alley. Because, of course, the following year, construction started there, and they tore down a whole building, and then they started putting in Autobots and Decepticons that you would meet and greet as you go through there, and now there's queues in there, so you can't possibly go through there all the way it used to be. But for a few years, there was always a nifty little scare zone there in that path from the Plaza of the Stars production centre across towards Mel's Diner and into Hollywood, that little path called Shrek Alley. And they had one there in 2011, the last one ever, Nightmaze. And it won't take long to describe it. It was basically black panels. You know, they had cloth on the chain link or whatever, and they could move them about. So they could move these panels about, and by doing that, the path would change. So you'd go in sort of a maze that sort of just, you know, and when you go through, the doors and areas change. Of course, there's no ceiling on it at all. It's just these black walls moving about. So you might not, you know, you try to go, wait a minute, there was an opening, now there's no opening, you get confused. Characters are all in black. Black like those Japanese kabuki dancers, you know, not the kabuki, but the ones who move the scenery, and you're not supposed to be able to see them because they're invisible. That's why they're all in black, with hoods, black covering, everything. So all you see are these black shapes, and some of them have like sort of circular rings or extensions or whatever, and they could flip them up and they look like a big dot that's just standing in front of you. But the only way it worked is if you go at night, because in the daytime it was damn silly because you could just see everything and it was like, what the hell. But if you go at night and there's lots of fog, then you could get a bit disoriented and not know that there's a scare actor there to jump out at you, and could scare you really well. But, and we're talking minimalism at the extreme. I mean, it was like, what did it cost to make that scare zone? 25 cents. So a lot of people find that to be the least scare zone of all time. Then you have one of the more favorites, like 7, but then you have this one, which is like nothing. It was just, but sometimes it worked well. I had a friend, Andrew, who was in the scare zone, who had been played Shaun in Shaun of the Dead a couple of years earlier, and he did a pretty good job. And you know, they're into it. He was a Dog of War, I think, the year before in 2010. They're into it. They do a good job, and there's some who were into it and did a good job as best they could. But you know, you can only do what you can with what you got, and when they give you nothing, that's all you have. There's one scare zone left, Grown Evil, which was rather pretty. And I'll get to that in part 15. Probably not tonight, maybe next time, whenever that will be. Alrighty then. Till then, have fun and stay safe the rest of this Friday the 13th. Don't go in the woods, don't go camping, don't have sex, don't drink, don't do drugs, because you know the dude in the hockey mask is watching always.